You're watching KPVI News at 5. News that works for you.
Today, thousands in Minneapolis and millions across the country watched the memorial service of George Floyd. The 46-year-old died on May 25th after a police officer had his knee on Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, and then for almost another minute more after Floyd was unresponsive. Joining us now, we have James Yazar from ISU, Kenneth Monroe with the NAACP, and Pocatello Police Chief Roger Shai. Let's go ahead and start with you, Mr. Monroe. When you watched that video that happened on Memorial Day, what were your thoughts?
Well, the first time I watched the video, believe it or not, I didn't think it was true. I mean, something about it said this could be set up. It just doesn't happen like that. And I think after I watched it the second time and we were all looking at it, you know, everybody just sat quietly. Didn't know what to say at the time, didn't know how to react. And then I think gradually everybody started to get mad. And I think the reason we got mad is, you know, what's been said about police brutality and some other things, it's right there in front of everyone, and they had a chance to see it. And one of the things I think that people forget to do is they need to validate the fact that what people of color tell them, they may not experience personally, but they're telling them the truth about experiences that they've had. And so I think that's what caused immediately that reaction, like, oh, you know, we've told them, we've told them, we've told them. And I think for me, it was a significant thing, and I told Dr. Izar why I wear the hat, and this was actually what I was wearing when I was watching that video for the first time. So I said, I'm going to continue to wear this until some justice is done.
Dr. Izar, what about you when you viewed that video footage?
Well, I think that my initial response was like, oh, no, not again. And then when I had the opportunity to see the footage of the officer resting on George Floyd for a substantial amount of time. Now, they didn't show the whole, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but what they showed was long enough that they could do in media. So what is that, maybe a 10, 15-second clip? And you could see that the individual has his full weight and it has his almost hands on his hip. It's like, I don't care about this individual here. That was so disturbing to me, and it was like something needs to be done. And we're right back to the situation that we were with all the other family tragedies of individuals of color.
What about you, Chief Shai, when you watched the video?
I can echo these gentlemen's feelings. And in fact, when that did happen over the weekend, I was on the phone with both Dr. Yazar and Ken, and we were talking about things, and because I know what kind of an impact this can have, and I just don't think of that as an individual incident, but you look at incidents that's happened in the past, and I mean, Breonna Taylor from Louisville, you've got Walter Scott in South Carolina, where those are other examples of similar incidents that are not the same, but yet they're similar circumstances that have happened. And when you start to look at it, and then once you learn about a little bit more about it, for me, it's just simply unacceptable.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but we will continue this conversation coming up.
You're watching KPVI News at 5. News that works for you.
We're now continuing our conversation on the current protests surrounding the death of George Floyd. Let me start with you, Chief Shai. Tell us a little bit about last night's protest in Pocatello and how that came about.
Yeah, so earlier in the week, the Idaho State University student athletes reached out to myself and Chief Deputy Tony Manu with the Bannock County Sheriff's Department, and they told us what their intentions were and what they wanted to do and asked for some help. And we were, you couldn't ask us to jump on board quick enough, and I can tell you that what happened was something truly special. If you were there to experience it, and just the outpouring of support from our community, very proud of our community, from all the cross sections of people that were there, and that was the whole point of that, was that the players wanted the message to be unity and have a peace, and I think everybody felt love there, and that was what they wanted, and that's what we wanted. And I was just absolutely floored by their reaching out and their hearts and it gives me hope for the future. And like I said last night, if you want to change the world, you know, what start there is going to change the world, and with hope and everything. That's just
Nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Monroe, tell us about what you felt at that Unity Walk last night.
Well, first of all, like the chief, I think those young men did a wonderful job putting it together. When they contacted me, they just basically wanted the support of the NAACP, wanted us to get information out to our membership and other people who might be able to attend, and I was very happy to do that. You know, what they were able to do, I don't think they anticipated. There were a lot.
They said they were pretty taken aback at the positive and the numbers that turned out.
Yes, and I believe the cross-section of people was just great. It was nice to see people turn out like that. You know, one of the things that I did observe, and I guess that I would comment about, is I saw so many signs that said Black Lives Matter. And I think that's important that people begin to understand what that means. And I hope that those folks weren't carrying those banners around just because they thought it was a catchphrase. We do need to spend some time figuring out what we need to do to take care of that.
Dr. Yazar, what were your feelings about the Unity March?
Well, first of all, I know that we all have biases, and I have a bias and stuff, and it's not simply because I work at Idaho State University, but you would expect nothing less from a student at Idaho State University. That's just how we roll. So for them to pull that off under such pressure, under such limited amount of time, I think that really reflects upon the university, it reflects upon the students that are there, and it reflects upon the kind of education to be global minded, to care about others that they're receiving. And of course, they utilize a lot of vehicles that were appropriate to get that particular response. I think that if it was Kenny and me, we probably would have been on the phone mailing letters, and that would not have been successful. So they did an outstanding job, and I think that, well, I have something else to say, but I'll wait for that.
Okay. Very quickly, there is another demonstration scheduled for Saturday morning and Saturday evening. This one has received some threats of violence. And Chief Shai, what do you have to say to the people, and everybody here, what do you have to say to people who might be intimidated by those threats?
So I'll go ahead and start.
Yeah.
There was some threats on the event from last night too. So we've been monitoring social media. We've been paying attention to that. We've been doing follow-up on a lot of those things. And what's the nice thing is when they reached out, we were able to do a little bit of pre-planning and be able to make sure that that event is safe for everybody to attend, however you want to express how you feel, and make sure everybody's safety is of the paramount when they're there doing that. So.
All right. Okay. Well, gentlemen, I think we could probably talk for another half hour, days, weeks, months,
absolutely.
And let's definitely keep this conversation going.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, and we'll be right back.